just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the first Packer Up Boys for 2025, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. All the boys, we've had our coffees, we're feeling good, tasting good. Go to grumpycoffee.com.au to grab your coffee, the best coffee in all the land. And it's brought to you by the biggest sale we have ever had. It is next Monday at 6 p.m. It's 50% off everything on Bloke. Bloke undies, Bloke singlets, Bloke shirts, plus the brand new Bloke Good Areas drop. That is right. These shirts that we are currently wearing, that have got good areas on the back, the singlets that Sandor's wearing, the hats, they are also dropping at 6 p.m. And also, they are 50% off as well. Bloke undies is 50% off. Everything Bloke, 50% off, 6 p.m. New South Wales time on Monday. And on Grumpy side of things, everything at Grumpy is 25% off. This sale does not last long, guys, so make sure to be there Monday, 6 p.m. New South Wales time. And don't forget to like and subscribe on all platforms. Leave us a comment on YouTube and Spotify, and make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube because, as you know, we're doing vlogs now. We've got a huge one planned, or you can go watch my Jai Alpataya vlog. It was super fun. We got vlogs planned all year long. Trust me, there will be so much more content dropping on YouTube, so you want to make sure that you're there. And also, we're nearly at 50K. Let's get to 50K. Have a big celebration. But the great Sandor, how was the break, mate?
It was good. Cracker to be back, actually. I missed you guys. It was good. Yeah. And I've actually missed my grumpy coffee. I haven't had any for a little while.
Yeah, so okay.
It's good to be back. But 2025 energy, I'm feeling good about it. I went over to the US in my break. So
whereabouts?
San Diego.
Okay.
Well, I was doing some work.
Whale's vagina.
It was good to get away. It was good to get away over there. Grateful to always travel. But good to be back, my man. I'm excited about this year.
Matty, how you been, mate?
I'm the opposite. I'm good.
Man.
Take another sip of that coffee,
Jesus.
bro.
Sorry, no. The opposite of I have probably had more grumpy coffee than anyone in the world over the break because I actually took that coffee machine home. Took a bunch of pods home because I
didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, I didn't have it. I have the beans at home, but I'm really liking the pods, so I took it home and then
Pods are so good.
And then,
it's so easy. It's so much easier. You just chuck it. I know it's not as like when you do it yourself, the taste is going to be a bit better. I get it. But you just chuck the pod and you get it done.
100%. But then when like 2 or 3 days to go, I realised I was going to have to part ways with it. So then I ended up buying one. So now I'm just all over the pods at home as well.
Okay. Good break. Also, guys, don't forget, give us a follow on Sportsbet Feed. Huge year plan for Feed. Huge year plan. I got a bunch of bets that you can copy at the moment on Sportsbet, like Islam Makhachev, round 2 or 3 submission. I reckon he gets the job done. We'll speak about the UFC later. We'll get into that. Give us a follow on the Sportsbet Feed. And as always, the more people that follow, guys, the longer the partnership with Sportsbet lasts. They look at it, they go, "Yep, the bloke community is around it. There's good. Let's extend that let's extend that partnership, which we have for 2025." So I'm so stoked to go for another year with Sportsbet. And yeah, the more people that follow me in the feed, the the higher likelihood that they're going to be like, "Yep, let's keep doing this." So a massive thank you to everyone that's got around it. I really, really do appreciate it. And that's how we can continue to so for example, this year we're doing more vlogs, we're traveling more, we're going to certain things more. That's all due to the fact that we keep growing, keep getting more partners on board. So thank you so much to the community. We really, really do appreciate it. But outside of that, boys, what has the break been like? Let's get an algo check off the bat.
Well, actually, speaking of sportsmen, I actually gave you a little follow in the holidays.
There we go.
A friend of mine, gamble responsibly, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
A friend of mine's got me back on the multi-train. And of course, you have this long layover and your first couple is a win and you're back.
How weird is it,
You're back. I don't know what it is.
Mate, when you haven't had a little chicken dip in a while, you come back and all of a sudden you're a master punter.
If you're a virgin on Sportsbet, I can guarantee you that your first couple of bets.
Nearly guaranteed.
Nearly guaranteed. But I will say, as I was going through, I thought, Denon's always talked about it. I'll follow him. And I seen a little bet there. I think it was Arsenal and something else. I'll jump on, back him, just see what happens. That one did lose. Not holding it against you. But no, it's been good. It's actually good fun. It's grown so much since the last time I was getting involved and having fun betting on sports. Nothing too crazy, but
always keep it small, guys. Yeah. Always keep it seriously.
It's a little bit of fun. It adds some entertainment to the sport. You never want to be going outside of your means, but it was cool, and it's cool to see following you and the bets and
what I'm doing and that. Fun, what I'm up to. Yeah, always keep it small, guys. That's genuinely don't be silly. Be within your means. But what's the algo looking like, Matty?
My algo check the last few weeks has been a lot of the LA conspiracy stuff, which we won't go headfirst into, but That's actually what my algorithm is. But more recently, the Eminem leaks from a few days ago.
The old diss song on Suge Knight?
Yeah. Well, there's about 20 songs.
about it.
But it's against Suge Knight and Ja Rule. And it is proper savage.
Yeah.
It's like he just had that sitting there for 20 odd years. There's a good reason it wasn't released. It was absolutely brutal. It's called Smack something. But yeah, go listen to it. It's hectic. But yeah, I'm just getting.
Shows you how good he is at dissing as well. Like just like the story that he can tell, and all the whole recent Kendrick stuff and how good he was, and and you look how good Eminem was all those years ago.
If he disses you don't even come back, do you?
Yeah,
you just cop it. You take it as a compliment, don't you?
Yeah, unless you're an actual battle rapper, I think you just let it go. Yeah. Like unless you've actually been in the
prime, I don't think he's responding with a diss track, but he's definitely responded.
But it really. Listening to that old Eminem sound, it felt like I was in school again.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. I've been absolutely murdering it.
Yeah, I haven't heard all the other 20. I just learned that one diss song. But my algorithm has been absolutely annihilated by the most pointless drama ever, but I am eating it up. The best drama for me is drama that's not that serious, but it becomes super serious. But in the end of the day, like it becomes super serious, but at the end of the day, it's like, this isn't that serious. So basically what my algo's been... There's a game obviously called World of Warcraft. There's a guy called Stay with me. There's a guy called Pirate Software, and so recently, over the last year or so, he's become real popular in the streaming scene. He kind of popped up. When YouTube Shorts started?
Yes.
He jumped on that really quickly, and because that YouTube algorithm was pushing that, because it's a new feature, he's got heaps of followers, and he's kind of like positioned himself as this like wisdom advice giver in the kind of gaming industry or whatever. He's worked at a big gaming industry company and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so there's a game called obviously World of Warcraft. There's a version of that game called Hardcore. And so basically what it is that World of Warcraft is a world, you level your character all the way up to level 60, but that takes like 100 hours. So it's like it's not easy. Like you're playing for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for it to happen. So you're investing a lot of time into it. Anyway, so the hardcore version is, if you die at any stage, that character's done. Dead forever. So in the normal version of World of Warcraft, you can have a character for like forever, for thousands of hours. You play that character, you keep building him up, better gear. Whereas in hardcore, in World of Warcraft Classic, when you die, you just respawn and you come back, it's all good. Whereas in hardcore, when you die, it's over. That character, you have to go back all the way to zero. Anyway, so it's serious. It's like, I know people say it's just a game, but you've just invested 100 hours to get your character to level 60. Anyway, so this guy who's positioned himself as just like good gamer, gives a lot of wisdom, all that kind of stuff. Also, there's rumors that he actually has pitched his voice down to sound more authoritative. There's old videos of him with this like really high voice, but now when he streams and that, his voice is really low. Anyway, that's a side note.
Someone killed him in the game.
No, okay, this is what happened. So in the game, to get good at the end of the game, like towards the top tier, you go into dungeons and you fight all these bad people, like bad guys, and you get the loot. And it's hard, and it's in a group of, I think it's 5. I think it's pretty sure it's 5. I can't believe I'm getting that. 4 or 5. Anyway, so they go in there. He's a mage, and so a mage is really good at crowd control. What crowd control is like it can freeze enemies to stop the enemies from running and hitting people. Anyway, so it's a hardcore version. They're in this dungeon, and someone calls run because they're looking like they're not going to be able to beat this pack of monsters because more monsters have been drawn in, because the closer you get to monsters, if you get within their radius, they aggro, which means they start attacking you. But if you stay outside the radius, they don't attack you. Anyway, so they've pulled all these monsters. They're getting overrun. Someone says run. He just ditches it for the door, like to get out of the dungeon. He absolutely just fucking gaps it. But the etiquette in those situations is you're supposed to like run, but also try to keep your allies alive. You're in there as a group. And so one of the dudes says run, he just gaps it, but then the other dude says, no, I think we can salvage it. So most people usually stay then, salvage it, and they all stay alive. But he runs, and basically 3 of the 5 people die. So those characters are gone. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Oh, yes.
But to make it worse, now it's called roaching or ratting. It's basically like, mate, you literally only cared about yourself. You didn't worry about any of your allies. Like, even though it wasn't your fault that all those monsters came at once, because it wasn't, you still are there with your teammates because they're in a guild together. So you're still there to kind of like, it's almost like when someone knocks a ball on in rugby league, yes, it was his error, but then imagine I knock the ball on, and then you just let it try in because you go, yeah, you knocked the ball on. I'm not going to try and help a mate out.
Not my problem.
Exactly, not my problem. That's exactly what he did. He said, oh, you dropped the ball? Not my problem. Here's a
Hands
try.
in the
Thanks
air.
for coming. Yeah. Anyway, so that happens, and he and the other people in that group are arguing with each other. No, the worst part about it all is that he refused to take any accountability. It's like he's saying, nah, I couldn't have tackled him anyway. Nah, he would have scored anyway, so it doesn't matter. Nah, it was your fault, you dropped it. He just kept going, nah, wasn't my fault, didn't do anything wrong. And then it just escalated and escalated and escalated. And it's just been this drama. He gets kicked out of the guild because he refuses to take accountability. And now there's all these clips popping up of him doing it in other scenarios. And he just refuses. It's psychotic because you can find clips of him doing things wrong and then just blaming everyone else. And so that drama has just been escalating and escalating. And so all the nerds on the internet in World of Warcraft are talking about it. It's drama.
I love it.
And it's so fun because who gives a shit? Yeah. But at the same time, I get that you give a shit because that's hundreds of hours. And also now it's also gone past just World of Warcraft. It's about, let's say we're all mates and you've just got this one mate that refuses to take accountability for anything, and how much that drives you insane. Because it's like, how can I be a friend with a bloke that just will not take accountability? It's the worst, and that's the point it's got to. And that's what my algo's been lately.
Well, I just want to acknowledge, firstly, I don't give a shit about World of Warcraft, even though I respect it. I'm half into it. You just became the Ray Warren of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that was good.
You used a football analogy to get me a little bit deeper there, about 3/4 in. That was good.
And so, bro, that's how I've been absolutely hooked. Absolutely hooked. It's like almost they got into the sheds after, and you, the guy that just let the try in and said, nah, you dropped the ball, I'm not tackling, was still sitting in the changing room
So
going...
he's getting pizzled, this bloke.
Because everyone's just trying to say, mate, just say, I stuffed up. Like, for example, if you walk in the locker room and go, you know what, I missed a tackle, I should have made it, apologies, boys. Everyone goes, yep, you know what, we all make mistakes, it's all good.
Yep.
But you walk in and you say, not only did I not miss the tackle, not my fault at all, it's your fault, and you need to be better. Everyone in the team's going to be like, bro, we all knock the ball on. It all happens. We all pull extra mobs. We all pull extra monsters. It's going to happen. Just own it and say sorry. But he dug his heels in so deep, quadrupled down, like kept saying, nah. Even to this hour right now, he is the furthest he has gone to say it's his fault is said, we all played poorly. We all played poorly. So, like, as I said, imagine there's a guy, he's about to score, and you step to the side and let him score, and you say, oh, yeah, we all played poorly. You'd be like, bruh, I know we all didn't play the best, but you literally stepped aside and let a guy score a try. Like, let's just fucking... And so that's the drama I've been consuming. I've been loving it. It's been the best.
We've been putting any moles in on series or movies or what, boys?
Finished Squid Games.
Oh, yeah, did you like it?
I started that yesterday.
Yeah. It's definitely lost its impact or like shock of the first one.
Yeah.
Because like the first one, you're just sitting there going, what? You're going a game where it's all kiddie, but they're killing each other. Look, I thought like the fact that they ended it the way, I'm not going to spoil or anything like that, but it's like, it's basically half a season. It's like not a full
cliffhanger, I've heard.
Yeah, massive cliffhanger. And like, I understand that I think that the reason why they've made it a cliffhanger is because like apparently they didn't make much money in the first one, so they're trying to make that money back now, which I get, it's all good. But it's still interesting. Still a bloody good show.
I got a new one for you. 3 Body Problems. Have you seen that?
Seen it.
Bruh.
Great. It's great.
That's right up my alley.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit like there's a slither of like, this could be true one day.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets me, and it's kind of like sci-fi but not. And
Yeah.
like, bro, I was into that.
Well, sci-fi based on real things,
Yeah.
that's like almost taken to that next level is always good.
Matty, you'll like it, bro.
What's it called again?
3
I
Body
don't know.
Problems. You
I don't
reckon?
know. You got to like really watch and like be...
It's a good story too.
Yeah, but I feel like Matty's the kind of guy that just wants to turn his brain... Do you want to turn your brain off when you're watching
Well,
stuff?
you know what? I love Black Mirror.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, okay.
I like Black Mirror. But
if you like Black Mirror, you probably will like this thing.
Okay, cool. But I do like for example, in the last week, I've watched 2 cricket documentaries. That because I'm just into that right now.
Yeah, okay.
I'm never really looking to watch shows like that. But since you recommended it, I'll give it a go. But I love Black Mirror.
Also on like, I want to watch it now. I want to watch episode 2 now.
Yeah.
I want to watch episode 3 now.
Yeah.
After 4, like, obviously I've got to go to bed on that. But
I tell you what, if you want to, if this one you've got to watch really closely. But if you want a movie that's going to literally linger with you forever, like one of those movies that just hit you.
movie.
Movie.
Yep.
That just hits you as long as you know what's happening and it hits you and stays with you forever. So there was one that happened a few years ago for me. It's called Burning. Okay. It's a South Korean, made by a South Korean director, I think. It's called Burning. It's like, subtitles, of course. That same amount of impact that I had 4 or 5 years ago, like I couldn't stop thinking about this movie. I still can't stop thinking about it. That same is what I had about a week ago when I watched a movie called After Sun. Now, this movie is English. It's made by a Scottish director, Charlotte Wells, on debut. So talented, this lady. But if you want a movie that's going to just punch you in the gut and you're sitting there watching the credits going, what just happened? And I'm not talking about like a thriller. I'm talking about emotionally. It's called After Sun.
Can you give away anything like what the theme, like, you know how I said this is like sci-fi?
Oh, the theme, it's a holiday between a father and a daughter.
Okay.
Holiday between a father and daughter. I can't say anything more than that because then it'll ruin the impact. Again, you got to really watch it to know kind of what's
like a Taken vibe, but I know it's not.
No. It's very serious. It's very serious. And also, it's very slow, but please just give it a chance. Just
streaming service it's on?
Yeah, it's on Apple TV and all that kind of stuff. But just say to yourself, look, even though I may be bored right now,
hang in there.
All I need to give is an hour and a half. And I'm telling you right now, it'll hit you like a ton of bricks. It'll hit you like I mean, look, if you're a father, like, you just have to watch it. You have to watch it.
All right, done.
Yeah, so After Sun hit me like a ton of bricks. Unbelievable. One movie of the year like a couple of years ago. It's 2 years old. 2 years old. But yeah, outside of that, it's just been the wow drama. Just absolute beautiful stuff. Beautiful. It's made me want to play World of Warcraft again, if I'm being honest.
But like, what I don't understand is, so how does that get into the universe? Like, were they streaming and then people are commenting?
Yeah, streaming.
I just clicked on what.
So Pirate Software was. So Pirate Software is streaming, and he's a huge streamer, huge following, and you're literally watching him play the game.
Yep.
And then he does that, and it's live, so it's not like he could hide it or anything. Gets clipped up. People are watching it live, like 20,000 people. And also, he's in a guild, a clan or a group or a team called OnlyFangs, which is like a play on obviously OnlyFans, OnlyFangs, and it's a huge guild, like a content guild that everyone kind of knows. And yeah, so now he's the internet's punching bag.
But it's recorded, yeah?
It's all recorded.
People are pulling up the highlights going, mate.
That's what's so crazy about the drama, is he will watch it back and have this cognitive dissonance and just be like, nah, wasn't my fault. Like, because what happened was that whole drama happened, and then apparently he was playing another game that's similar to World of Warcraft. It's called Ashes of Creation.
He's done it again.
It's even worse this time. He was the one that actually aggroed the monsters. So you know how I said in the last story how if you get within range, you're aggroing extra monsters, but usually you just want to take one pack at a time. Like, there's 3 monsters here, you take that pack, you kill it, then you go to the next pack of 3 monsters, you kill that. Whereas if you aggro an extra pack, you've now got 6 monsters at once, which is obviously going to increase the likelihood that you die. So he shoots this fucking lightning ball, aggroes the pack, the whole raid wipes, the whole group, then starts saying, I'm guild kicking whoever aggroed that extra pack. And then he goes and reviews the video and still says, nah, that wasn't me.
I hate him.
Mate, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I've never seen.
I want to play just to
see what it's all about, mate. It's the cognitive dissonance. I've never seen anything like it. Like, truly. And don't get me wrong, the internet is the internet. So there are people that are taking this way too far and death threats and everything to him, which is bro, so I get why he's upset, because it's that he's experiencing death threats. He's experiencing hundreds of thousands of people putting shit on him. I get all that, but it's the reasonable people that are saying, bro, just apologize, they're not agreeing with all that negative stuff. They're just saying, if you just said, fuck, my bad.
Put it to bed, brother.
You know what? Whenever that kind of stuff happens, the easiest way to almost turn an L into a W is not only admit you were wrong, but take the piss out of yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
be like, you know what? I'm a bum. Don't ever hire me. What the hell was that? And because guess what? Then people watching go, I've been in that situation before where I've made a mistake and I feel like an idiot. I can relate to that person. No one ever relates to the guy that's perfect.
And it's the ego. His ego comes in all forms. It's not just some big bloke beating his chest. It's he's got this persona and he just can't. The thought of possibly taking the piss out of myself is no way.
No way. And that's the persona he's built, is this this guru that gives all this advice, pitches his voice down so it sounds really deep, so weird. But anyway, that's the drama I've been dealing with. Guys, don't forget, Watch the 9PL on KO. That's right. It's I think it's this week or the week after the 9PL. Matty?
I'm checking.
Yeah, I think it's next week, the 9PL. So basically, Nines footy. A lot of ex-NRL players will be playing. I'm pretty sure it's on the Gold Coast, and you can watch it on KO. It was actually, I'm pretty sure, it might have been streamed last year, but I remember watching it. Some of the names playing are like, we're talking like some of the biggest names that played the game.
Yep.
And not just like 4 or 5. I think every single team has NRL players in it, ex-NRL players in it.
I think they're starting to rally together too and create like...
Start actually rivalries and
stack 'em
stuff.
up and that.
And teams getting stuck. I saw videos of teams training, like full-on fitness.
Wow.
Oh, man, you couldn't pay me to bloody get in the footy field again. Jeez, I don't...
It's not this week. It's next week.
Yeah, so next week. So not this weekend, guys, but next weekend. But, yeah, just running around, the contact, and, oh, man... Just a lot.
What do you reckon if you absolutely had to, though? You reckon you still got, like...
I'd have to get fit again. I don't have the fitness. Hey, nah, my hammy would tear. Bro, I haven't hit top speed in like 10 years. What are you talking about? I'm probably 15 kilos overweight and haven't sprinted in like 10 years. There's no way.
Also, I just want to acknowledge before we move on, just when you finish there, I love that you said, that's the drama I've been dealing with.
Oh, it's the best. It's the best. But yeah, I'd have to get fit again. I'd have to actually go and play like touch footy or something.
Yeah.
Just get my body used to that high intensity training again. Because like any training I've done since I retired has just been all low intensity.
Yeah, I went down that road and had to retire from Oztag. It's this dark slope as well.
Okay, far out. All right, maybe is there Oztags for like veterans or something? You know, like old
when
people.
we in the Masters.
Yeah, well, I'd nearly be there. I'm bloody 37. Far out. It's crazy. Alrighty, Dylan Brown. An email was leaked where Dylan Brown manager was shopping him around to other clubs from 2026 onwards. He has an option in his favour to stay at the Eels, and he needs to decide by May. Eels head of football Mark O'Neill says he's confident that Brown will take up his option. I'm torn on this one because on one hand I look at it and I go, well, his manager wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't send an email saying. Because the thing that I have, and we've actually been on this with the podcast before, is like, this weird long option contract with Dylan Brown would suggest to me that he signed for massive unders with the... Like, for example, you say to yourself, if you're Dylan Brown, why would you sign this massively long contract, especially when he's not the highest paid at the club, blah, blah, blah. What benefit do you get by signing long contracts? Usually the benefit in signing long contracts is security. And so usually the compromise with that is you're getting paid less. And so with this long-term contract, the only thing I can think of is that, he signed this long-term contract because it was security. However, it's probably on unders for what he's in right now. So the only thing I can think of is maybe the manager's looking to, obviously put it out there that he's got that option in his favour, but also maybe to renegotiate the current deal with the Eels where he gets paid maybe a bit more.
Yeah.
Because I don't, for example, why would the Eels sign Dylan Brown on a really long contract with all these options in his favours for what he's actually worth? As in, let's say 800, 900K a year. Why would the Eels do that? That's literally the worst contract in history. The only thing I can think of is the Eels went, listen, we'll sign you on massive unders, but here's this fucking unbelievable contract that gives you all these options, and we're just going to trust that we'll be able to keep you in the long term. And so, I'm I don't know whether to be worried or not, but the only thing I can think of is the manager is potentially, again, guys, pure speculation. This is just us spitballing. The manager is potentially angling for an upgrade in his deal and maybe a change to his deal going forward. And then if he can't get that, then potentially going to other clubs. I'm not sure. But, it's a very strange one. What do you think of this situation?
What comes to mind is that's got to be stock standard play, as you said, from the manager to always try and benefit the player. But I also think if you look at the market, the timing's impeccable to have a guy like Dylan Brown potentially open on the market to other teams. So
Roosters.
I'll be playing that game all day.
Well, we were talking about a few weeks ago with the Roosters.
The Roosters are still, I was speaking about this the other day, it's still stunned me, just the position they're in and the moves that have or haven't been made.
Well, they got Reece Robson. I just look at the Roosters and they must be going.
Brown and Walker together would be...
Well, they couldn't suit each other more because it's Brown is a ball running 6.
Plus with Reece Robson at 9, if they get Brown, they'll be right back on top again.
If I had to guess, and this is, as I said, guys, this is pure guesswork. my assumption would be that the Browns manager is just trying to get a contract probably of Dylan Brown's value in the short term. So, like, for example, it wouldn't surprise me if he does re-sign with the Eels, it actually almost negates the contract he had and he signs just a normal 2 or 3 year extension.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's what I feel like the manager... Because, like, on the flip...
That makes sense.
Yeah, glass half empty. If you're being cynical... If you're the new coach, you're a bit like, oh, shit. Like, you're a bit worried that it's even become public like this. I just... Yeah.
I think the player options have really thrown everything out of whack because he signed this deal 2 months after they were in the grand final in 2022. So what's that? He signed a 3-year deal. So that's a pretty normal deal. So if he just signed a 3-year deal back then without all these options, then he'd be on the market kind of anyway. Like, I think it's being blown out of proportion a tiny, tiny bit about all these player options. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you mean by he'd be on the market anyway. I guess, though, that, like, but he did sign a long-term contract, you know, like, and so if you're the Eels fans, like, when they announced that there's this long-term contract and blah, 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 like, it's a worrying sign. It's a worrying sign that he has so much power right now.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good thing that the Eels have done it all. I think it's crazy, but I just don't understand why they didn't just... Why would you give him 7 player options?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And the only thing I can think of is they couldn't afford to pay him his market value. So they said, here's this unbelievable options every single year or whatever, but please take much less than what you're worth. That's the only thing that makes sense. Because, like, if you're Dylan Brown, and let's just assume that the Eels gave him market value plus that contract, you'd never leave him. You'd never leave.
No way.
Because you just go, all right, I'll take option 2026, see how I go. I'll take option 2027, see how I go. And so that's where I just think that he's probably on unders, value money-wise, and then he's just probably looking to, oh, man, it's a tough one.
Are player options like the ones we're describing, and there's a couple of other examples in rugby league in particular, is it common practice amongst other sports, you reckon?
Yeah, I'm not sure, eh?
Yeah.
It is.
I'd
love to know.
Hear about it in other sports, I feel.
That's a good point. Like, maybe there is. I don't really know much about, like, NFL, I guess. I mean, if anything, the NFL contracts are very club heavy because don't they do things where it's, like, not guaranteed?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I would never want to get to that point. That would suck. That you could have an NRL player on a contract that's not guaranteed. Like, I can't believe it. It sucks. And look, and I get it from an NFL perspective. They get paid so much money. That's quite a bit of a different, like, you know, they might be guaranteed $1 million, but the non-guaranteed is like $50 million. I get that to a degree. But yeah, it's a tough one with Dylan Brown. I honestly don't know where I sit on it because, like, it's just such a bizarre situation. Like, for example, your argument of, like, he would have signed a 3-year deal anyway since the grand final. Then if that was the case, then the Eels would have been more aggressively trying to re-sign him before he went on the market at November 1st this year. You know, like, they would have already tried to lock him up November 1st, 2024. But, like, this contract that he's currently on has given them this illusion of comfort that clearly doesn't exist because it's basically like he's on the market right now.
Yeah. So for context, for those who don't know about the deal was signed after the grand final.
Yeah.
So straight away, there's a good energy, a good feel. You get off of this deal, there's probably unders, and you feel safe about the fact that you have all of these options.
Sorry, and just quickly, just remember they lost like 4 or 5. Like the salary cap was busted because they lost 4 or 5 players in that time.
Well, yeah, I think it does make sense. Like, you've come off that. There's a vision and dream that you guys are going to continue to be successful. Right now, I'll take unders. I've got all these options to secure my security if I do need to take something else, and that's where we are. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Wow. I mean,
and that continues for how many more years, Kempy?
Like, it's like an 8-9 year deal, and it happens
it's
and every year's an
2031.
option.
2031, and he's got like an option, like 2 or 3 options in it.
I think it's an option every year. I think Moses is the one with 2 or 3 options. I'm pretty sure it's every single year. Something along those lines. But it's
so that's
messy.
why I'm thinking, like, glass half full. I'm just thinking his management's going, Eels, he needs a proper deal where he's getting his market value.
Oh, well, yeah, well, we got to go.
And so...
You know, I want to walk one thing back a little bit. I've just realised he wouldn't have signed a 3-year deal. He would have already been signed for 23. So it only would have been a 2-year deal. So, yeah, the more I think about it, it actually isn't the best. I don't think.
It's just strange.
Yeah.
I don't know where to land on it because I'm just like, an option every single year, and also now, the fact that it just put the club in such a weird position because usually they just look at, okay, who's going to be available after November 1, 2024? All right, who do we need to make sure doesn't go on the market? Whereas with this contract, it's this weird thing where it's like, well, actually, we don't know until round 10 of the middle of the year whether he's going to be here next year.
That's bullshit.
I just don't know. And look,
so from the Eels, from what you know about the Eels, are they in a position, if this is where it gets to actually lay down a real contract?
I mean, sure, they have to be. Like, what? Like, Gutho's gone.
Yep.
Reid Marnie went years ago. Like, where is all their money? RCG's gone. Like, surely they've got money in the cap to re-sign one of the best young sixes in the game.
Sorry, I apologise. It is the final 6 years of that contract are in the form of 2 player options.
So basically in blocks.
Yeah, in blocks, yep.
So it looks to me, as I said, it looks like the management is like, we want a real contract that's like 2 or 3 years that's potentially his value, I reckon.
And let's just say hypothetical, the manager is privy to the information of where the clubs are in terms of their position to contract them, then I'm absolutely finding an avenue to push this and get it done.
Yeah. And because like from purely Brown and the management's perspective, it's like at the time that we signed that contract, you guys had no room in the salary cap. So what we said, yep, we'll sign for massive unders, but if the salary cap opens up, then obviously we want what we're worth. And look what's happened to the Eels. It has opened up. They've lost a bunch of players. And so if I was a betting man, I really do think that they'd be able to re-sign him, but I just think it's going to be a normal contract for market value. The concerning thing, though, is that you've got clubs like the Roosters with an absolute war chest, like big money.
If they're going to dictate what market value is, it's scary.
They'll probably offer him $1 million a year, which is like, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
I think he stays. I think, if I had to guess, I think that the manager is just looking for a normal 2 to 3 year deal where he's getting market value.
Yeah.
And maybe
they're in a good position to do that. I think he just wants his player prioritised maybe in that conversation.
Because and I know from a fan's perspective, you're probably sitting there super frustrated and like, look at all these options, blah, blah, blah. I guess if you could just take a sec to think about it from the manager's perspective, and again, guys, all speculation. Maybe it's not this. Maybe the Eels have offered him the deal of a lifetime and Dylan Brown is just not interested. And if that's the case, then, fair enough. We don't know. But let's just assume that when he did sign this long deal with all these options, it was because the Eels had no money in their salary cap. Now, all of a sudden, the manager is saying, okay, we're about to come up to an option year. You didn't have money in the cap, but now you do. Now it's time to pay Dylan what we believe he's worth. Then I can understand where the managers... I mean, that's why the option's there. The option is there for Dylan Brown to get to that point and say, will I take it up? And so, look, please, for Eels fans, I am not saying that I wouldn't be frustrated if I wasn't an Eels fan right now. Like, I would be, of course, sitting there going, we brought Dylan Brown over as a kid. We've developed his game. We've stuck by him. We've been super loyal with him. He's a gun, but he's our gun. We helped develop him. I personally hope that he stays at the Eels. I really do. I think him and Mitch Moses have the opportunity to build something great there. And I think that, I just think the manager's probably looking for market value. Because put it this way. If the Eels did offer him market value and that contract, it might be the worst deal of all time. Like, why would you ever offer a kid market value and a deal with...
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. The Eels they're not doing that.
Doesn't make sense.
What I think the Eels have done is gone, we need to keep this kid by whatever means, but we don't have any money, but here's how we do keep him at the club. And it just like the Tiger situation, don't get me wrong, going forward, I think that you try to reduce as many options as possible. But just like the Tiger situation, when I look at Dylan Brown, if that's what it took to keep a player like Dylan Brown, then I can understand why the Eels did it. I think a lot of people will be super negative on the Eels, but it's like, but if the option was between losing Dylan Brown and keep giving him this contract, I think you give him the contract.
Yeah, and the timing, I think it's all relative.
Yeah. So
makes sense.
I think he stays. I just think that the manager's looking for a market value.
It'd be a huge hit to lose a quality 5'8" like that, especially in this time on the market.
Especially when the new coach comes in. It's like, so I think he stays. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he stays.
I think he stays. What do you reckon, Matt?
Ooh, jeez. I'm not as confident. I'm definitely not as confident. No. I reckon he's going to leave.
Yeah,
I reckon he's going to the Roosters.
Okay.
That's what my feeling is.
Fair enough.
I think you guys are right, though. I think it's a great point that they're trying to renegotiate a completely new deal.
A normal deal, essentially.
Yeah. But when the Roosters come for you, and look, obviously Roosters is just being thrown out there, but
Yeah.
it seems pretty obvious.
I think if he
talking
does,
to Rolsey, what's he thinking? Is he hoping that he gets the quality of player and the quality of football that he's looking for, and then it's like, hey, we're going all in, all guns blazing, or what's the mindset?
oh man,
Does he have that luxury?
Yeah, I don't think he has that luxury. Like Dylan Brown's a gun. I think
if the Roosters are
put it this way:
brilliant.
if he lands anywhere, I think it's going to be Roosters. I don't see him going anywhere else. I think he'd almost be a bit silly.
At the Roosters.
I can see him at the Roosters, blah blah. But I do think, I think Dylan Brown really does look up. I don't know. Again, speculation, but I think he really does look up to Mitchell Moses. I think he really does care about Mitchell Moses, and so I think that he wants to be a partner of Mitchell Moses at the Parramatta Eels.
He'd have to be excited at the moment. There's got to be a good vibe internally in that club. They would have
Surely.
made some big shifts culturally.
Mitchell Moses is a current 7 for for Australia and New South Wales. Like to move away from that, like we're almost like double speaking here. And look, there's a difference. This is going to get very nuanced. There's a difference between when the Roosters want you, they'll get you, and so we've seen them do that. However, then you actually look at the roster. There's no guarantee that this roster that Roosters have next year are premiership threats.
True.
And so the argument could be to Dylan Brown, yes, when you get in a room, as I said, guys, very nuanced. So when you get in a room with Mark Boris and Politis, it's very hard to say no. However, at the same time, when you look at that actual roster, it's not the same roster as it was 3 years ago where you walk into it going, this is the best roster on a paper. And so maybe that's a saving grace for the Eels where they're going, mate, you can either be the halves pairing of Mitchell Moses, who's the current 7 for Australia, New South Wales, and I know Cleary will come back in, blah, blah, blah. Or you can go to the Roosters who, like, you could argue are in a bit of a rebuild. Not like the normal rebuild of bottom of the table, but you know what I'm saying? Like rebuilding to a premiership.
Just to add to that as well, I know the Eels had a bad year last year and they weren't great in 23, but Moses was out all of last year basically.
And Brown was out
the year before. So they haven't really played that much together. So surely that's in the back of his head. Me and Mitch haven't played together for a full season since the grand final year. So hopefully for Eels' sake, he's thinking.
Yeah. And also like with the roster, let's just look at their rosters they've got this year, right now. Is the Roosters roster really that much closer to a premiership right now than the Eels? Like on paper? No. They might be a little bit, but not that much closer, I don't think.
Not this year, certainly.
That's what I mean. Like this year, like, look, maybe they go and make some big signings, or maybe like, Spencer Lenu turns into one of the best forwards in the competition, and Lindsay Collins continues to kill it, and maybe that happens. But at the moment, it's like, Nwanga Nituwase becomes one of the best backs in the competition. Teddy goes to kills it again. But I think right now, if people have Roosters ahead of the Eels in regards to where they've got them on the ladder, I don't think it'd be by that much.
It's marginal.
Not enough to go, hey, bro, if you come here, you're going to win a competition.
And as you said, to be a genuine premiership contender, there's a rebuild to get to that point.
I think so. I think even the Roosters are probably looking at it going, where 2026 and 7 is when we want to be back in that premiership threat kind of situation. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that this year they can't do something special. They've got a coach with Trent Robinson. Yeah. They still have a forward pack with Lindsay Collins, with Spencer Lenu. They've still got Teddy at the back there, essentially the best fullback in the game last year, at club level at least.
Plus, Walker and Cheese, they're coming back. I know they're going to miss the start of the year.
Halfway through the year. So, there's still going to be a bloody good roster. And Victor Radley, he spoke about it, I think, at the end of last year, and he made a little bit of a good point, but it's like, sometimes when you have such a great roster, you can almost expect the victory subconsciously. And the Roosters are heading into this year for the first time in quite a while where it's like, you don't have the best roster in the competition right now, especially without Sam Walker and Cheese for half the year. And so sometimes that can almost bring out the best in guys that have taken a back seat.
It's powerful.
So yeah, super interesting. I think he stays. I think if he lands anywhere, it would be the Roosters. But I think that Dylan Brown really does want to play with Mitchell Moses. Yeah, I really do.
I want it. Don't get it. I want him to stay. I don't see Dylan Brown in any other jersey. It's just that Roosters thing's making me nervous.
Yeah, and how quiet the Roosters have been.
Yeah.
And they got Reece Robson, and we did predict weeks and weeks. And last year I was like, big signings are happening. We've got Reece Robson. There's still another one coming. I'm almost like, selfishly, I'm like, I hope they do sign him so I look like a fucking genius. But I don't. I hope he stays at the Eels. I really believe that Mitchell Moses and Dylan Brown given a year or two together, playing full time, can become a premiership threat side. They're just such a good partner.
I agree, but I just don't know where to place them because, again, they had a poor year last year. They were ravaged with injuries. They've got a whole new backline. Their backline is they've got some big stars in their backline now.
Zach Lomax is going to be probably outside him.
Yeah.
Whatever side he plays on. Adokar outside him.
Bencini's had another
getting better.
year.
Yeah, like you got Simonson on the wing who had a bloody good year before he got injured.
And Isaiah Iongi, we haven't seen any of him really, but all reports are he's a gun too.
Yeah, so super interesting. I hope he stays, but in regards from a content drama perspective, him going to the Roosters it's all drama, baby. Because what's crazy about that as well is he arrives the same years that Reece Robson arrives if he does sign for the Roosters. So they're heading into 26 with a spine of Robson, Walker, most likely Teddy and Brown.
And we've seen this story before. Like 2012, they didn't have Jennings, they didn't have Sonny Bill, they didn't have Maloney, and then they all came. 2017, they didn't have Cronk, they didn't have Tedesco. Them two came, and it's.
And I will say, like Dylan Brown had his off-field issues, and the Eels stood by him. You have to remember that. I hope that I can understand why there are Eels fans saying, like, please let's repay the faith. I know. Look, I don't know what happens behind closed doors at the club, but the Eels it looked like they stood by Dylan Brown, and I could understand if an Eels fan why you'd be like, look, could you give us one more contract at the very least. Not to suggest that you're tallying who owes who, but it did seem like they stood by him when he went through those tough times. Dylan Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see him stay at the Eels with the new additions, the new coach, the new culture. I would like to see that play out. But one thing I am convinced of, well, at least happy to speculate, is that the Roosters are definitely going after him.
Oh yeah,
there's no way they aren't.
Definitely.
It's funny as well. So not only did that email get leaked, the literal next email got leaked of Brown's manager basically saying, I'm really disappointed that this email got leaked. So clearly there's clubs out there. Like, this is how dirty the transfer market is. There's a club out there that is trying to create drama between Dylan Brown, the Eels, because they're literally just going, boom, sending it straight to Chamis going, let's fuck that. Like, let's create tension in that relationship. All these, like, undercurrents and, people think that it's just like, oh, the teams just get on the field and play each other. There's all this stuff happening in the market. Like, I've heard whispers of clubs almost like pretending to go after players to drive up value to hurt salary caps.
Makes sense.
But that's part of the game. Yeah. It's the game within the game. And so for those emails, for not only the first email to get immediately leaked within minutes of being sent, then the follow-up email of Brown's manager being upset got leaked immediately. Like, there's a screenshot of it on Chamis's story on Instagram. A screenshot. So think about how, whichever club that is, think about how much they dislike the Eels to do that, because they're trying to unsettle the Eels. It's drama, bro. That is drama. Like, I can't believe it hasn't been, like, talked about that much that happened.
Yeah.
A screenshot.
Especially in this time with not a lot of news.
Not a lot going on, and Chamis has a screenshot in his... You know what? I want to check right now if he has it. And this is, again, no knock on Chamis. He's doing his job. He's a journalist.
100%.
He has no alliance to anyone. He's the one that's...
Chamis is doing the right thing.
It's his job.
Yeah.
It's his job. It's, his job is to get information to the public as a journalist. And if a club wants to pass that on, he's going to do it.
Fair play.
So, yeah, anyway, it's... okay, now also... where should Brandon Smith sign? Who should sign Brandon Smith? He says his manager haven't talked with other clubs. I think also there was yarns about the Eels. I think he just needs to get back on the field. Like, it's a bit of a weird one because, like, I kind of feel like people have kind of making out that he hasn't played good footy in the last couple of years. Like, granted, has he reached the heights of Storm? Maybe not. But at the same time, he's been a bloody good 9, especially the back end of last year. I think he'd bring value to a lot of clubs. It just depends how much they're willing to pay for him.
I thought he had a pretty good year last year.
Yeah,
and the back end of 23, I thought he was good too.
Mate, I would look if you're desperate for a 9, I'd sign him as a 9. But mate, I'd be signing him as a forward that can fill in at 9. Sign him as a front row /13 that can fill in at 9.
I agree.
And I'd be bringing him on for 20 to 30 minutes and just go skits, go absolutely skits. And I tell you what, he'll turn straight into one of the best impact players in the competition.
Yeah, I agree. I do think the full-time responsibility within a very systemised and structured approach for any team is not best suited to Brandon Smith. I think he's an impact player. He's arguably at his best, probably the best impact player in the game.
Oh, mate.
And the way that Storm used him towards the back, there was periods there where he probably was the dominant hooker at that time, but the way they used him coming in and just injecting absolute life into the fucking game for 20 minutes. I know Rolsey, just thinking about that relationship, as much as he knows Brandon's madman, I think he would love to have him in his team.
I mean, I think the Eels are the perfect spot for him because as long as you can just keep him on the straight and narrow, we know cheese is the cheese. You got to take the good with the bad, like he's a character.
What he does is invaluable.
Yeah, but at the same time, that wild man that can sometimes be a wild man, that's what makes him great on a footy field. He's a fucking wild man. And so you put him into that Eels pack and you go, listen, I just need you to play almost as a front row. Like imagine him and Junior Polo as front row pairing to start a game. Like that
He
first
could turn
20,
a game.
He could turn a game. Or when Junior goes off, you bring him on in the front row. I know he's a smaller body, but we've seen him play like a front rower.
Yeah.
That's what he does. Then you'd give Jaman Hopgood a break as well at 13. I don't mind the Eels. I really don't mind the Eels shout, and then he can jump in hooker sometimes, and he can fill in for Hands if Hands gets fatigued or whatever. I don't mind. Hands is going around again. I'm pretty sure he's with the Eels. The Eels seem like a good fit. Be interesting to see where he lands. Surely, it won't be this year. It'll be the next year. But that was brought to you by Good Day. You know who needs a good day? The Knights need a good day. Use code DMP for 10% off. Combine that with a subscription for 20% off. Go to begoodhealth.com.au. I have had my good day today, and I'm feeling absolutely fantastic. There's been whispers that the Fletcher Sharp has been training at 6 with Hastings at 7. Definitely no word from the club at this, so this is just pure speculation. But
sorry, I miswrote that. It's supposed to say Gamble at 7.
Gamble at 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Gamble at 7. I don't know what's going on there, eh?
Neither.
What is so Gamble? I thought was like an out and out 6. Couldn't be more of a 6 if he tried.
Agreed.
And I like Gamble. I actually thought he was unfair to get dropped last year. But as a 7, where do they get their kicking game from then?
And it's just so essential now. If you want to be a contending team,
You need
your
a kicking
half has
game.
to be an out-and-out halfback, and really the focal point of their game has to be kicking.
Do they rely on KP to kick? Don't get me wrong. Gamble's kicking game is solid. I feel like it's a 6's kicking game.
I'm just making comparisons to the top teams. If we look at a Cleary and Hughes, without that in your team as a part of your game, I just don't see how you can be successful or contend with those top teams.
I will say Fletcher Sharp's attack and his speed around the ruck, that is one area I feel like they kind of lack a little bit with the 6 and 7s that they choose. They choose very structured, solid, not very fast, not very explosive, but good, robust 6s and 7. You look at a Fletcher Sharp, all of a sudden you've got a 6 that can break a game open. Maybe does that, which is important, especially when it almost takes a bit of pressure off KP constantly having to do it.
Yep.
So, I look from that perspective, and I look at last year where you could argue the Knights were a little bit too conservative at times. Then you go, okay, well, maybe you put Sharp at 6, and all of a sudden that too conservative goes out the window, and you've got Gamble just to get you around the park. I just don't know whether, has Gamble ever had that job to get her? If anything, wouldn't you be putting Hastings in like that to get him around the job, and then get Park and
and they've got Cogger as well. That's what I don't understand about Gamble at 7. I love Gamble. He should be in the team, but
good player.
I don't know why he's
Hastings at 7 is what I would have thought.
Mate, this Cogger signing is the most bizarre signing ever. You bring him in, doesn't really gets dropped, starts, then comes back in, goes okay. Mate, out of Cogger, Gamble, and Hastings, Gamble is the furthest away from a 7. In saying that, it's just rumours. It's just rumours.
nothing's come out of Newcastle.
Nothing's come out of Newcastle. So look, it might have just been one training session where the players are injured or whatever. But I don't mind the idea of finding a 6 that's like a game breaker.
Yeah.
I don't mind that because I do feel like sometimes they can be just a little bit too conservative for the Knights. And if you put a really fast number 6 around the ruck there, all of a sudden more space can be created.
I will say in 2025, I think some of these decisions, and again, not to say that it's true, but some of the decisions that will or have to be made for the Knights are going to be very telling. I think we're down to that point where some of these decisions will be make or break.
Yeah, they've got to pick a direction. They've got to pick a spine and let them play together.
Yeah.
We cannot get to the they're really the only club in the competition. Maybe you could look at the Warriors and say who's going to be a 6 or 7 or whatever. But and look, please, I'm just off the top of my dome. If there are other clubs that are like this, but I feel like they're one of the only clubs in the competition that you really don't know who their 6 and 7 is going to be for the year.
100%.
Like week to week as well.
It's a problem.
Like they can't get to the end of this year, 2025, and us still be sitting here saying who's the 6 or 7. It's their literally the most important position. Like you could, for example, Brayley, I'm assuming's got the 9, but Phoenix Crossland played for the Kiwis at 9. He could be 9, 6 or 7. You don't know, but obviously they got their 1 locked in. You could maybe argue the Warriors are a bit unsure, but I'd just assume that it's either going to be Metcalf or Tamate Martin.
But the Warriors have just had someone retire.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find other clubs that are like that. You know, you got the Cowboys, but Dearden's locked in, Drinkwater's locked in, Robson's locked in. Whereas, look at the Knights, and it's just like you're just not locked in. So you'd hope they'd have that locked in by the end of the year.
You make comparison like we have to top teams. Like the inconsistency in those 2 positions, you can't afford to have that happen.
Surely.
It's just not a thing.
Well, as I said, you look at the Knights and all the decisions they have made, the fact that they were still with it, in the finals, it's actually amazing that they did that.
True.
They play well in spite of themselves. Imagine if they had had a 6 and 7 settled the whole year. And also, wasn't KP got injured again last year for a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, he did his he did his foot, something in his foot.
Yeah. So
forget the name of it.
You look at the Knights and even we can be negative with the Knights, but you're imagine KP plays the whole season. All of a sudden, they're probably finishing 5th or 6th.
Liz Frank, that was it.
Liz Frank, yeah.
If he plays the whole season, they probably finish 5th or 6th, which is when you look at that roster on paper, that finishing 5th or 6th, you could argue it's overachieving.
Yeah, it is.
Compared to some of these other rosters that struggled. You look at the Broncos, you look at the Rabbitohs, even the Eels to a degree. You look at the Warriors. The Knights are just this really... As I said, they play well in spite of themselves. And not the players, but in spite of some of the selections and stuff that they make. So hopefully they lock in that 6 and 7 because they got to do it. They got to do it. Broncos backline. Michael Maguire said Selwyn Cobbo is probably on the wing at the moment. Mariner is reportedly favourite to play centres, although Madge is still not certain. And also, recent reports out that Moser may have won that 9 role. May have won that 9 role. So... The report from the Courier Mail was that he may have won that 9 role with... The report basically said with pressure that other clubs were interested in signing him. So, maybe it's a way of the Broncos going, mate, here's the 9 jersey, re-sign with the club, which is very stock standard.
Yeah.
He's been pretty patient so far.
He's been he's 22 years old.
Yeah.
We're talking about one of the best young 9s coming through the grades. He's been patient. We're not talking about a 19-year-old that spent 1 year in Q Cup. We're talking about a guy that's really plied his trade. Look, I don't mind it. Blake Moser coming through the grades, huge raps. If sometimes you need to say to a young fella, okay, you're the man now, to make him almost believe in himself. You know what I mean?
100%.
But if you keep telling this young fella, a little bit of faith. If you keep saying to him, you'll come off the bench, I'm not sure if we're ready, I'm not sure, then he's going to start doubting himself.
Yeah.
And so, look, I thought towards the end of last year, Moser played extremely well. I think Walters makes a bloody good 14 as well because he can cover so many positions.
100%.
I think it helps as well. You got 2 of the oldest and most experienced halves to start the season.
Mate, just get the ball to him.
Exactly.
Make your tackles, get the ball to him. And then with the Moser situation, we have to re-sign him. We can't afford for him to be sitting on the bench coming on for 20 minutes a game. I know it's easy for us as pundits to go, be patient. Mate.
But how patient?
How patient? He's 21, 22 years old, and he's one of the best young hookers in the competition.
Especially when a team like the Cowboys have just lost their hooker.
Yeah.
Clubs are going to come after him.
And just go, just tell some young kid, you should be happy just playing 20 minutes off the bench. I get it, in a perfect world, it's easy to say that, but at the same time, you want to be if you're a gun that's come through the grade as a gun, and at other clubs are saying to you, you will be our main man, you're going to want to start. And look, I get people who go, well, he would have been starting the next year. But again, that's the thing with rugby league. You never know.
Yeah.
The club can keep telling you they're going to start next year, whereas if you've been at that club and they haven't started you for 2 or 3 years, eventually you're going to be like, well, you told me that last year and it didn't
you only
work.
get to use that narrative so many times.
So many times,
and
yeah.
in 2025, hooker's another position and it is a super hot commodity.
Yeah. And on top of that, like if a club's coming to you literally and saying, off the bat, you are our number 9, here's the contract that reflects that. That's very different to you're on unders right now, but we promise you that you'll be...
And think about the psyche of a player who's kind of been in this washing machine of hope and promise, and then someone says like, you're our 9.
Yep.
There's a value on that isn't financial, that is going to be very appealing to someone like
100%.
you.
Like when I went to the Warriors, it was purely just to play first grade.
Yeah.
Like because the Broncos said to me that at that time I was a 3rd string winger. It had nothing to do with money. Like if the Broncos had said to me, stay on 50 grand a year, but you'll be starting next year on the wing, I would have said, where do I sign immediately? Yeah. The only reason I left the Broncos is because they told me that I was 3rd in line. Now, I started playing really well in first grade. All of a sudden, that changed, but I'd already agreed to terms and I wasn't going to go back on my word.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good example of like, I'm sure pundits would have been like, mate, just stay patient, just stay patient. And honestly, looking back on it, I should have just stayed patient. But I didn't
understand the mindset in that situation.
Yeah, and also I'd already been promised the year before to sign unders and then I would be starting on the wing. And guess what? I didn't start on the wing.
So the trust is gone.
Yeah, like last time I signed the contract, they said to me, sign for unders, but we promise you you're starting wing. Came around, did the whole preseason, did really well, and I literally started the year in reserve grade. Like, so there's so much that goes on that people don't really see. And in hindsight, it's very easy to say, oh, mate, you should have just been patient and stayed there. But it's like, well, maybe I got injured. Maybe other players killed it. I don't know. Like, whereas Warriors literally said to me, you are starting wing and here's a decent contract.
Yeah. People just
not even that big of a contract.
But you got to understand the significance of what you're saying. You know, the mindset is like, at that moment when you've built up to that, and it would be hard from a third party or a fan's perspective to understand that, but in that moment, that's fucking everything.
It's everything. You just want to play first grade. You just, because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, the longer you sit in reserve grade, the more chance for someone else to come in and take that spot.
And when you're ready, you're ready. Like, you've played well, you've been promised, you've done the preseason, you're in that hot
You've
seat,
done all
you're
your
that
end.
guy. And it's like, if that doesn't come through, it's devastating.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, someone comes in with the ticket.
Yep.
You're like, oh.
What's crazy with the Warriors is that I ended up signing for less than what I would have made at the Broncos. And what I mean by that is, so I signed for 90 grand a year at the Warriors, and 50 grand plus match payments ends up being more than 90 grand a year. So if I had stayed at the Broncos, the 50 grand plus, is the only difference was I was guaranteed the 90 grand a year at the Warriors. Like, people think I signed for like 300 grand or something. Like, no way.
No,
like,
it wasn't even a thing then.
Like, yeah, no way. It wasn't even. Literally, it had nothing to do with the money and everything to do with you will start on the wing for us. That's it.
I think in that day, I don't think you could get more than 200 grand or something.
Nah.
I think
the most I
remember. I think it was like the first one who signed a decent wing contract. I swear it was Aquila Iwata.
Probably.
First time I remember, like, I think he
decent.
just went like 250, 300. I was like, oh, okay.
What happened was I agreed to terms verbally through my manager with the Warriors, and then I started playing really well, and I started getting these massive offers from other clubs that were like 150, 175 over like 3 years. But because I'd already said to my manager that I was going to go to the Warriors, I just said, look, I can't go back on my word. Like, I already said yes. Yes, I'm losing a lot of money, but I said yes. Yes. Like, I'm not going to go back on it. So, and just to reflect back to the Moses situation, that's the kind of probably situation he's been in the last few years,
100%.
you know?
It's good insight.
You know, he's probably been told, mate, you're starting hooker next year, the next year, or the next year.
And the other fact, like, Walters as an impact player, I think is actually a good move.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, Walters was really good, got him to a grand final, but is he so good that you're willing to potentially lose one of the best young hookers in the competition? I don't think so at the moment. Like, he's a good player.
And the fact that he's not an out-and-out 9, it's not the only place you can put him, and he is actually...
He's a bloody good 14.
Yeah.
So good. Can play 6, can play 9, probably can play 13 at a pinch. Like...
And like, being a 14 in this day and age isn't
so
a bad thing.
Yeah, so important. So we'll see what happens there.
Look at Connor Watson, you know what I mean? Him moving into the 14's been a blessing. Now he's
played
an
Origin
player.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I like that from Michael Maguire. I like the fact that he's probably identified, like, we can't afford to lose this kid. Especially with all the reports of how hard Moser has been ripping in at training and trying to whittle the fitness.
That.
Yeah, he'd love it. Don't forget, guys, Grumpy Coffee, grab some today. Also, on Monday at 6 p.m, be 25% of everything. But if you can't wait, head to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab your coffee today. We've got pods, we've got different blends, we've got ground, we've got it all at grumpycoffee.com.au. Alrighty, the Dragons, Damien Cook and Clint Gutherson, named Dragon co-captains. And then the Daily Telegraph absolutely stitched up Gutho. Oh, who squashed his head? Who squashed his head, the poor fella? Are you serious? What? Now, look, that's, you know how the depths of pain that Gutho has to go through there, because you'd know this as well. How annoying did it used to be when you're in the paper and they use a photo, the worst photo possible of you playing? Like, you'll be like, trying to catch a ball. And some journos are, oh, yeah, that's a good photo. And you're like this.
That's what I mean. Some journos sat there and gone, yeah, no, that's the one.
Mad.
That's the one I want to
Yeah,
use.
and I'm like this.
Beat it.
And it's like, bro, there's 100 pictures of me. I'm ugly as it is. Give me a start here. Yeah, look after me. Like, there's so many. Like, use my friggin' profile picture from the thing. Instead, it's just like, bruh, I'm already struggling out here at his ears. I can't get anything. I'm just I'm a young whippersnapper just trying to do my best in the big smoke, and you're killing me out here.
That was hilarious. The mini like pea head. That was hilarious.
That's what I mean. So there's that, which is an actual photo of me trying to catch a ball.
Yeah.
That was them squishing his face with the, like, they've gone, whoever that journo is must hate Gutho. Who's a massive rival of the Eels? It's Tigers. You know what? Tigers fan has just gone, nah. We are so sick of you saying Combank's our house. It's Tiger Town, baby, and just squished his face. Who else? I mean, Eels, do they have that big of a rivalry these days? Like, I know they've got rivalries, but like,
maybe it was an Eels fan that just didn't want him to leave. Although it wasn't his fault that he left.
You know what? Yeah, actually, what I'm talking about, he's talking like he's still the Eels. He's playing with the Dragons now. It was a friggin', it was a disgruntled Eels fan that was like, damn you, Gutho. Even though he wasn't
Even though he didn't want to leave.
Yeah. Man, he's done him dirty. I'm trying to think Dragons. Yeah, it was a Sharks fan. Sharks fans just squished gave him an Instagram filter. Jeez, poor fella. Mate, some of the comments on that were so good. Like Gary, the great Gary Lyon, looked a bit like him. Well, didn't look like him, but just a mixture of, you know what? A mixture of him and Michael Maguire. That's the comment that I saw. What about Gary the Goat? Oh, the great.
He's the best.
He is the best. He is the best. Like, think about the life he lives. Just like one of the great spinners all time. Goes on tour with the boys, has beers, and just bowls blokes out for fun.
Like, he's going to overtake Glenn McGrath and Wiggets.
It's just, yeah.
It's
and he's
nuts.
just the cruisiest bloke ever. Everyone loves him. Like, tell me, have you ever met anyone that doesn't like Gary Lyon?
Oh, God, no. Not in this country.
That's the cool thing about cricket as like a sport. You can have like, you know, in the rugby league world, I mean, yeah, we got the blokes out there, but there's the athletes.
Mate, yeah.
As you said, he's just cruising around.
Mate, Nathan Lyon, like, I've never ever met a person that's like, nah, don't like Nathan Lyon. You'd almost get bloody deported, wouldn't you? Like,
It's un-Australian.
Yeah, like, what did you just say? How dare you, sir? But yeah, so poor Gutho, he's been absolutely stitched by most likely a Sharks fan, maybe disgruntled Eels fan. But look, I like this. I like Cookie probably not going to be playing 80 minutes every single week, I'd assume. You got Gutho on the field. 2 former rep players. You know, I think this is actually what the Dragons need.
Yeah,
really do.
like it.
I think it's smart. And look, I get the whole does co-captains work or whatever, but you just look at the Roosters through their period. They had co-captains. You look at the Penrith Panthers. They've got Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary. I'm pretty sure. So it can work. Now listen, when you go on 6 captains, that's a bit of a what's doing there. But I'm excited for the Dragons. You know, I'm a fan of Flano. I love the fact that he just gets out there. Look, whether you agree or disagree with him, and I've disagreed, I've agreed, but he just provides the entertainment. Like, he will just come out and say what he wants to say. He won't like stay quiet. And don't get me wrong, I'm not expecting every coach to be like that. But from a fan of rugby league that's gotten to an age where I'm like, you know what, just enjoy it. Like,
Yeah, it's appreciated.
Yeah, if it's not bagging a player, just enjoy the whole theatre of it all, because that's what makes our game great. It really is. It's the theatre. Like, you look at Union, they desperately need the theatre.
Desperately.
And so, yeah, I don't mind it. What do you reckon, Matty, with Gutho and Cookie?
Oh, I'm not surprised. They're 2 mad new recruits. As you said, Cookie's not playing 80. They both had leadership positions at their old clubs. It didn't shock me in the slightest. I think it's a good move. Just on your point about Flano saying what he wants, I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I love that he come out and said, nah, our scored's stronger than last year, even though he's lost Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax.
Yeah,
I just love him.
most clubs would be like, so most coaches are really politically correct and like he just comes out and does it. And granted, like I'm sure if you're Benny Hunt and Lomax, you're sitting there going, bruh, what? Totally unnecessary. But like from just a pig at the trough of content, I'm just going, eating it up, going, great. Do I agree with it? Like, no, I think I would rather Lomax and, not rather, but like, it would have been better to keep Lomax and Hunt and get those boys on board. Like Lomax and Hunt are a big loss. Like you know, it's just content for me. It's just enjoyable. Makes like next time they play each other, like next time the Eels play and Zach Lomax plays the Dragons, you don't think we're all going to be watching? Benny Hunt with the Broncos and he goes plays the Dragons, you don't think we're all going to be watching? And like without Flano coming out and saying that, you know, you don't really get that fire and that spot, which is good. Hunt, I love it. As I said, as long as it's not like actually bringing a player down, like that's just a bit of banter or whatever. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. Okay, it's a Sydney Smash at the SCG tonight. Sixers versus Thunder. Steve Smith versus David Warner. Both of these teams are locked into the finals as well as the Hobart Hurricanes. Hurricanes sitting on top of the ladder. They chased down 201 last night. Steve Smith versus Warner. What do you reckon, Matty?
I'll be there. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to rain. Classic Sydney. So that's really been bugging me all day. But oh yeah, I'm excited. The game got sold out like 2 weeks ago. So, or maybe not. Sorry, no. The game sold out a few hours after Smith got his 100 last week. So as soon as he got his 100, everyone's like, fuck, I need to go to this game. So yeah. But I think the talking point's been the Hurricanes. Since, I mean, Nathan Ellis, their captain, sent us those jerseys. They're on top of the ladder.
Have we got those jerseys? Are they over there?
Yeah, they're behind the thing there.
Is Queensland out?
Yeah, I don't know if they can mathematically make it. I think they needed to win last night, but Queensland, like Uzi and Marnus were back, and Hobart chased them down. I know Brisbane fielded.
If Queensland are out, up the Barts, up the Barts. Boom! Even got beak on the back.
I nearly corrected you to say Canes, but I think we'll go with the Barts. That's much better.
Up the Barts, get around them. Your Dogs for beating Queensland, but outside of that, fucking absolutely dominate New South Wales.
Nathan Ellis as well, who again sent us those, is just on fire. He's their captain. He's been picked for the Australian Champions Trophy. I hope they win. I hope they win the whole thing.
Let's try and do a companion. We might do a companion for the finals, and I'll talk cricket. I tell you what, look, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but record ratings. As soon as we start talking about cricket a lot. Look, does it have anything to do with the grade cricketers who are absolutely friggin' incredible at what they do and so beloved by the cricketing community? You know, Australian players follow them, laugh at all their stuff. Has it anything to do with them, or is it bloke in a bar talking about cricket, getting on board, trying to get the rugby league? I think it has more to do with us, if I'm being honest.
I agree.
Look, I tell you what.
After hearing what you did with World of Warcraft, I can only believe
mate,
it's you.
I'm telling you right now, cricket, going okay, then all of a sudden bloke gets around it, then record ratings. That's all I'll say. As I said, is it grade cricketers who have literally been a stalwart of content in cricket for many, many years and extremely good at what they do? No. It's the rugby league. It's the rugby league podcast that came in and just brought the people back.
We've converted. Summertime's on. We're going to cricket.
We brought the people back.
You know what's interesting though? We do have a good cricket show coming next week as well.
Yeah, stay tuned. Mike Whitney.
Yep, next Wednesday.
And please, guys, if you don't follow cricket, give this podcast a chance. Because, like, Mike Whitney played for Australia, but the stories this bloke's got with some of the greatest cricketers of all time are goated.
Yeah.
Give it because like it's story after story after story, and then also goes into Rabbitohs getting back into competition, which Mike Whitney had a lot to do with. I promise you, just give the podcast a chance. If you walk away, if you are a sports fan, and you don't walk away from that podcast going, wow, that was great, I mean, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked.
It was a thoroughly enjoyable.
Like we're talking about stories about Brian Lara, about Shane Warne, about Dennis Lilly. Like we're talking about, it doesn't get much better. We're talking about secret meetings where millions of dollars are involved to get the Rabbitohs back into the competition. It's such a good point.
And he's a very relatable. Like he's a rugby league person.
Yeah,
like he played cricket for Australia, but he's a rugby league person.
They had to try to get the rugby league out of him. Literally, they said that to him. They said, "Mate, you need to relax." Matter of fact, he's the host of Who's Dares Win back in the day.
Mate, I'm so glad you said that because I was sitting here going, do I ask? Denon's going to fucking laugh at me if I ask. Is this the guy who was on Who Dares Wins? Because I knew he played sport.
Yep.
So I'm glad you said that. And for everyone at home who felt like me for that small 30-second window, glad you cleared that up. Yeah, mad. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's a great yarn. Just some of the stories and just
a lad.
Yeah, and just also like hearing stories pre-internet, like, you know, going over playing West Indies where, you know, you barely travelled back then. You're barely going to England, and just some of the stories are just that good. But outside of that, as I said, if Queensland are out, up the butts. And anything else going on? Anything else going on for you boys?
No. Going to the cricket tonight. Can't wait. That's it.
I need to get to it. Have you been to a Big Bash game?
No. I've never watched cricket.
I need to get to one.
We'll as I said on the YouTube guys, you know what? I've never actually been to a game.
Yeah.
We should actually go to the final and I'll vlog it. Actually, no, because we'll do a companion. Anyway,
you'll be in Japan.
I'll be in Japan. What I will say, though, is that, yes, we have heaps of vlog content coming up, guys. You're going to absolutely love. So subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure to give us a follow on Spotify. Even if you've got us on Apple or YouTube, go to Spotify, hit that follow button because, as I said, it really, really does help us. Leave a positive review as well on Apple and Spotify. That also really helps us. Outside of that, guys, do not forget, Monday, 6 p.m., 50% off everything. You know, we never do these sales. Like the last one was a year and a bit ago, ages ago, and 25% off everything. Grumpy, we got their hats. They'll fly out. They're 25% off. The singlets, the shirts, good areas drop. Make sure to be there. Monday, 6 p.m. New South Wales time. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.